I'm Brenda.
And I'm Kristi. We're two friends from high school who are connecting and reconnecting over music and memories.
Welcome to Normal Bias Podcast.
We're glad you're here.
Hey y'all, welcome to Normal Bias Podcast. It's Brenda and Kristi, and today we have two very special guests with us today. They have just started a podcast and they have a YouTube page called Got This Sis. They're awesome ladies. One I am friends with and one I am getting to know today. Welcome to the podcast, Alicia Davis and Trio Springer. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Absolutely.
And Trio, you're talking to us from Lincoln, Nebraska.
I am.
And Alicia is here local in Houston, Texas. And of course, Kristi's in Brenham. So we are just, they have a podcast, like I said, You've Got This Sis. And their episode 4 of their podcast, they talked about comparing. And maybe there's a guy out there listening, but typically, ladies, we look at each other and we are just sizing each other up, comparing. Alicia, there's a quote that you say that comparison is the thief of joy. And so because the four of us are friends, me and Kristi and you and Trio, Alicia, I thought this was the perfect time to sit down and talk to each other because we both have started podcasts. We both have started YouTube pages. We're putting our messages out there on social media. And I just, I want to talk about those differences, but also celebrate the things that are the same. And I think that we have a common ground. And I think that our message, your message is probably a lot of the same, and that we just want to reach as many people as we can and help you guys in the things that we have learned. So that's what this episode is going to be about, and I can't wait to jump in.
We're excited to do it together.
Thank you. I'm gonna segue here for us. We actually did jump in. So we're gonna join the episode already in progress. Y'all pretend like this was a smoother transition. We were just excited to talk.
This is us. This is Normal Bias Podcast. We keep it real. It's organic. What you see is what you get. Great. I really listened and I loved it. And she's like, well, why? She told me the story and I said, I always thought it'd be fun to have a podcast. And she's like, let's have a podcast. And literally a week later, we had one.
That's Trio. That's exactly what Trio's like. She's like, well, why not? Let's just do it.
Let's
and
just do it.
I'm the one that's like, I don't know. Are we going to do? And Trio just goes.
Me too.
That's why it's a good combo for us.
It is. It exactly works because I don't have time to like think about it because once I have decided I don't have commitment issues. It's that I have to like think about it. Do I have the time? Where I have to think about it. But then once I'm in, I'm all in. But Kristi's like, nope, let's go. You can think about it later.
Yes. Sometimes you just have to jump in.
Yeah. And it's been okay. It's been fun.
It has been fun. And I don't know about you guys, but like where your talents lie and your energy. But it's been good for us because I'm good at getting it going, but Brenda's good at the day-to-day keeping it going. And so that has been really fun for me. And we're both kind of recovering control freaks a little bit on the OCD side. But one of the things that we promised each other, we kind of had a pinky swear when we started was if this becomes a have to and not a get to, we're going to lay it down. Like if this becomes we're not doing it right, the edit's not right, like that kind of stuff, then we're going to, I just don't have any space in my soul right now for anything else that has to be a certain way. I just want this to be about this. And Trio was really sweet. She just sent a chat and she's like, are we recording? We should probably be recording because we've already recorded our whole podcast, like what we would have said.
I totally was just thinking that too. And then I looked up and I was like, oh, we are recording. And then I said to myself, well, when did we start? What have I said? Oh my gosh.
You're so funny.
Oh, you're good.
Kristi.
Let's do a little recap here. But we got to hear about how you and Kristi met, which is awesome because you guys have been lifelong friends. She, in a way, kind of double dog dared you to do student council, and you said yes.
I did.
And then your friendship has just continued to grow and blossom and intervene and connect throughout the years, which is really, really cool. And I think mine and Alicia's story is a little bit of the same because we actually met each other in college. And I think Alicia should kind of share the story because I feel like you were there longer than I was. And really, I came to know you through not only our folk dance group, but through my now husband, who was yours and your husband's really good friend. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm taking it. Here we go.
Here's Paul. Catch it.
We both went to BYU, and my husband and I ended up being on a folk dance team, a touring team. And this was super fun because we were with about 25 students who were literally for an entire month performing at elementary schools. We would do like 3 or 4 performances a day. We had these 15-passenger vans and we were lugging all of our equipment and everything. And so we were literally spending an entire day with these 25 people that we'd rehearsed with for months. And then we would go home and we were all living in the same apartment complex. So there was this super tight bond that all of us had. And so I was there, my husband was there, even though we were not dating at the time. And then my husband's roommate, Paul, is Trio's husband, though they didn't even know each other at the time.
We didn't know each other. Yeah.
And it was one of those things where we became super close friends. And then over the next couple of years, Paul met Trio. We were touring together. Like it was a super fun experience in college.
They touring together. So these people in my life, Alicia, Jacob, Paul, and the 25 others that are amazing too. Like they got to tour the British Isles together. They got to tour New Zealand, Australia, performed at Disney World for 2 weeks.
Wow.
What am I leaving out? Like you went to Canada as well, up in Drummondville.
Yeah.
So,
but through that friendship, there's kind of a family that gets created, right? And so even though all of us kind of spread after college and had our own lives, we were still connected with each other. But Trio, you and I didn't really have a super tight friendship until a couple years ago when one of our folk dance friends actually passed away from cancer. And then that's really when our friendship reconnected in a completely different way, kind of like yours did, Brenda and Kristi. It was one of those, like, it was a turning point. And that's when we really started realizing our similarities and our similar challenges with 4 boys, and our friendship really grew from that point on. And we actually both ended up becoming health coaches and now creating this. And I feel like it's a completely different friendship than we had before. I don't know. Would you say that?
well, I have to say, and maybe you can relate, Kristi and Brenda, but until we are in the space and place to have the people in our life that we need, they won't be there. And I say that because, you know, having 4 little boys, the first 2 are 20 months apart, and then like 2 years, and then 3 years is the spacing for them. And so I got smarter as I had them, but I also carried a lot of weight, and like weight as in shoulder weight, as in I'm carrying a lot. But I also didn't realize about myself from the time I was probably a teenager that I had anxiety. And so while I'm raising these 4 little boys and they're mommy, mommy, and they cry and they need diaper changes, I just felt really overwhelmed. And I didn't have anywhere in my soul and my head to really have anyone else in my life because I was at capacity with what I had. And anyway, I just wasn't in a place, and I don't know, you know, how Alicia was in that time of young motherhood either. But if I could do anything differently, like we were talking about earlier, if now that we're where we are as wiser, a little bit middle-aged, I don't like the word, but wiser women who have been through the young motherhood stage and are where we are now, I actually feel like I have something to offer somebody. And I think that's why we have decided to do our podcast, is because maybe we can help you feel a little bit more real and human, and that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay if you have anxiety and depression. Like, it's okay if you have postpartum depression. And you guys, I had that and I didn't even realize it. And so it's just been a lot. And so I think when I was introduced to Alicia, it was the right timing in our life to be like, let's talk about our life now together. And she's always so positive and uplifting, and like,
You are.
yeah, I'm a goer and a doer. And so sometimes I need somebody to be like, let's talk about this for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's do. So yeah.
I like, so yeah, so you guys, Trio and Alicia's podcast and YouTube channel, they're on Facebook and Instagram. It's called You've Got This Sis. And I like, because I've been listening to it before we had our talk, I really like the ongoing theme, and I've heard you say the words out loud, Trio, you are not alone.
No.
And I definitely, I those words, because me too, I've been, in the last 5 years, I've gone through divorce, I've gone through my dad's death, and their depression and anxiety and sadness has definitely loomed in the background, and I have felt that. I have felt like I am alone. I live in the suburbs and I'm a single mom, and all around me are married families. Like, I feel alone. And so when I heard you talk about your postpartum and your depression, I was like, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And so when you're brave and able to talk about those things, then it makes me, my weight, my shoulders drop, and I am able to let that go too. And it's just important that, ladies out there, regardless of your age, and I think I hate the word middle age also, it's because I don't feel like I'm middle aged, I am.
Feel like you're 16.
Right. I still feel young inside. And so, but I'm not, but, you know, so I just hope for anyone out there, and Kristi and I talk about this too, regardless if we have 10 followers or 40 or thousands, there is one person out there listening who needs to hear what we say and know that, Alicia and Trio, you are their sis. And, and now I feel like we will be connected in a way, but just that it's okay to be where you are. And if you need to take a minute, like you did when you said you just didn't have that time to have, friends in your life, you were figuring it out. It's okay. Wherever you are there. You're not alone.
I love that, because for so long I did feel alone, and I would try to make friends, but I was really bad at it. Part of that is what Alicia and I have recently talked about on a podcast is I didn't trust people really with me, because I'd been, starting from the time that we're little. I don't know what it is about us women and as girls, but we're like cutthroat at each other's throat, like all the time. And so I learned at a really young age that I needed to be a certain way. And if I wasn't, I was either made fun of or, talked about or whatever. And so I was just like, I got really good at holding people at arm's distance, and I can shut you down, really easily. And I'm still really good at it, but I'm overcoming that, because I do feel like that's not one of my strengths. That would be a weakness for me, because I do want to love people. I do want to be the person that can look at you and say, no matter who you are, what you've been through, how bad life has been, or how good it is, I want to be your sis. I want to be that girl who can chill with you on the couch and we just watch a chick flick or, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been tricky to like get to that point of being okay to trust people. And so Alicia was a good friend for me to experiment with. I'm like, well, let's see, how much can I trust her? And she just was always there and never judging me. And that made me be able to trust her more. And a little bit about, I married my husband, Paul, and our lives intersected again. But when that intersection happened, I was in the middle of nursing school, or I had just graduated, I don't remember. And so that's nursing school with 4 boys, a husband who has a really awesome career. And Alicia used to look at me and say, I don't know how you're doing this, but you're really amazing. And I almost would be like, no, don't say that, because I don't feel amazing. I don't care what you see from the outside. The inside is I'm working my tail off. I'm trying to be mom. I'm trying to be a wife. I'm trying to keep everybody happy. I'm trying to make my good grades. I'm trying to make sure I'm diagnosing or whatever I'm trying to do correctly. And I don't feel amazing. I feel like I'm surviving.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just think if we can, but at the same time, I'm really grateful for her for recognizing it. So it's like that double-edged sword of please don't recognize that about me, but I'm really glad you did, because my life is hard.
Yeah.
So
I want to circle back a little bit, because I know that if I was listening, I would want to know what episode y'all had that conversation about women and being competitive. Was that a recent episode or like an ongoing conversation? Is there one, if I wanted to listen to that, where I could go?
yes, I'm gonna find it.
Episode, right?
What's that, Alicia?
I think it was the 3rd episode.
The comparing. It's
Mhm.
number 4, and number 5 is the one you put today about fear and resilience. And I think that comparing, actually, it started, the little seed was planted in your very first episode, Alicia. I don't know if you heard that, but you started talking about that in that episode, and then later down the line you talked about it. Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I think a lot of our conversations in the last 2 years have, as we keep circling back through some of these subjects and noticing them in our lives and in the lives of our friends and family members, we're like, we need to do that. We need to talk about that. We need a podcast about that one. And it's just been neat to see how many people relate to these things, and that these subjects keep coming up over and over again. And I don't know, with your podcast, if this happens too, but I feel like as these things come up, we know them.
Mm-hmm.
We know what we need to do if we're going to change our habits, but we forget.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the act of talking about them helps us remember, and hopefully in our middle-agedness, yes, I'm using that one now, we can, Brenda, like we're gonna hopefully teach someone and help them recognize it, help them remember it earlier than we have, and just help them out.
And that's accountability. Like that's like, to me, that's sisterhood, or that's what it should be like. That's accountability. It's me, either me speaking what I know I want to be, who I want to be, and you reminding me of that when I forget, or you holding up a mirror and saying, this is who you say you want to be, and I love that. I love like everything that I've heard you guys say, like sitting here with y'all. I'm like, okay, like let's all be best friends. Let's just talk every day.
Right.
And that's Like that's,
Yeah.
I don't know about for y'all, but this is, so on my screen, y'all are like this and Brenda and I are like this. So with our previous podcast, it started because a friend was doing her master's dissertation on loneliness. And one of the things that she realized was as a middle-aged woman, she was lonely. And so she asked a couple of us to do a podcast with her. And what it did was it made us accountable to each other. It made us sit down each week. It made us spend time together planning, and it built a friendship that wasn't there previously. And that for me and Brenda, what this has done is we spend like this much time podcasting and this much time talking about all the other things, but it's given me a friend that I can say, hey, remember when we talked about this is what I'm, like we're walking through a hard thing with some extended family right now. And it's been good to lay that down and say, this is what I'm struggling with, because you can't do that with everybody.
Mm-mm. Well, and that's what I love. I love how you said, holding up the mirror to remind somebody this is who you want to be. And I think so much of so many people, so many women just need somebody to see them for all that they can be, because sometimes it's really hard to believe that that's who we can be. And you, like, people on the outside might be able to see it a little bit easier because we're our own worst critic too. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that critic has a really loud voice and can win all sorts of mental battles. And so when you have the friend, the sis, to talk to voice, all the things to, it is so good to have somebody there, not only to listen or sometimes to vent to, but to also laugh with you and to call you really on the crap.
Yeah.
And be like, no, you not know who you are? Like, that's bull. And let's call it for what it is, because this is who you want to be and this is who you can be. And so let's go there together.
That's exactly what Kristi has done and does do. And I have another friend who does that too. And I always talk about, dude, you just held, I'm like, stop. I don't want to look at myself right now. Stop holding that mirror up. But I need it, but I'm just not ready to look at that.
Yes. And go, Kristi. You're good, Kristi. Go ahead.
I just want to ask about, so y'all mentioned y'all are both health coaches. All right. So tell me, what is that? Are your jobs similar, or are you in the same field, but what you actually like, where your niche is, or your niche, however fancy you are, like, do y'all kind of do the same things, or is it just similar? Like, what do y'all do? That's what I want to know.
You want to go first, or do you want me to?
Go. You're up.
Okay. So, like I mentioned before, I am a nurse, and so I was working in the hospital actually for about three years, and before that, I did nursing school, and a lot of in class time, a lot of sedentary sitting time, and by the time I got done, I realized that I was kind of out of shape, had a really kind of unhealthy mentality about me, although I didn't realize that. I just didn't feel happy, and I didn't know why, and that was really frustrating for me. And so I reached out to a health coach who is actually a mutual friend of mine, Alicia's. And as I started to get healthy in my body, I realized that I was getting healthy in my mind. And I realized that my self perspective was a little bit off. And I really began to understand the value of the food that we put in our body and the good it can do us or the harm it can do us. But I never realized that until I took the step to get healthy and to try just putting healthy things in my body, I was like, whoa, I like myself. I can be happy. This is crazy. And so anyway, just a step at a time, Alicia and I kind of dove into that together. And now we get to serve other people. For me, it's the preventative side. Well, for both of us, I'm going to talk for both of us, because you don't necessarily have to have a nursing background to health coach. It's just something that was already in my toolkit when this came along. But to us, it's the preventative side of healthcare, because I saw a lot of people in the hospital. I was there for some of them that died. Some of them that were ready to pass, and some that did not live a healthy life and their heart couldn't sustain them anymore. And so anyway, it's now the time that somebody needs to have a personal one-on-one conversation to focus on their own personal journey. And really, I think of it, we both do, as getting healthy from the inside out. And if we can do that, then hopefully we can avoid the hospital down the road and all the other stuff that comes with it. What about you, Alicia? What do you have to add?
I think, well, and all of that, in addition to, I think we both consider ourselves transformational health coaches, where it's not so much, hey, let's help you lose weight. Like, most people think of health coaches as people that are going to help them lose weight. And for us, that's one little tiny section of it, because overall health, you're going to have a healthy body and a healthy mind and even healthy finances. It's all of that combined. And so it's been really fulfilling to help people not only lose weight, but in the process, they're transforming how they think about food, how they view themselves, how they view what they can accomplish. If they can get themselves healthy, they can accomplish anything. And that's kind of like, that's how it was for me, where I knew I needed to get my body healthy. I wasn't thinking about all the rest of that, but in the process of getting my body healthy, all the rest of it kind of started like the wheels started spinning. And Brenda, you remember when I did my cabinets in my kitchen? I had just finished my health journey, the part of it about losing weight. And I was like, I feel so good. I can do anything. So I was ridiculous and was like, I'm going to repaint my kitchen cabinets. Yeah, it took me forever and it was good. But I had that confidence. Like, if I can do that, I can do this other thing. I can do anything. I can do a podcast with Trio if I want, right? So it's that kind of transformation that's not just physical transformation. So I think our jobs as health coaches is super rewarding in that way, where we get to watch all of that happen, not just weight loss.
I love that. What a great service. What a great career. That's awesome. Yeah. You're changing lives. You're changing, and not just, if you change my life, you're changing my legacy. You're changing my husband's life, my children's life, their children. This is huge. Yeah. Maybe my siblings, maybe my parents, like that. What y'all are doing is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And it's totally about that. It's totally about the big picture. And honestly, none of this would be happening if we were in the place that we were before, because we've transformed not just our body, but like Alicia was saying, how we think, our mental capacity and muscle strength has just reached a higher level. I think it wasn't bad before, it just wasn't fine-tuned. And so we're working on that every single day as well.
That's what middle age does, ladies.
Well, you know what I'm hearing y'all say, and one of the things, and I don't have I have the idea, I'm having a hard time articulating it, but what I think we've all talked about in different conversations is, you're living life and your head's down and you're just trudging along, right? You're putting one foot in front of the other and you're doing the same thing every day, and you're in the same place. You're not getting anywhere. And I think for a lot of us, I think for the four of us here and a lot of people in our age group, a lot of people younger than us, older than us, there comes a moment when you lift your head up and look around and you're like, like you can put the same amount of effort into life, but get where you want to go. I think like that's one of the things that I love about what y'all are doing, the way that you're encouraging people, because I don't want to encourage you to stay where you're at if where you're at's not where you're supposed to be. I want to encourage you to get to be who you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to be. And I think we can really get some pretty narrow like tunnel vision, right? And like
Right.
y'all are helping people lift their head up and look around like, wow, there is a whole, like there are like 14 other roads branching off this one that I'm not even looking at. So
I love that.
what about the ripples? I mean, I think about the ripples of what y'all are doing. Like I just, it's huge, y'all. I love that.
It's huge.
That's education, health.
Awesome.
So good for y'all. I just want to give y'all good, like grown-up gold stars.
Yes, grown-up gold stars. I think
and we should celebrate middle age.
we should.
Positive thing.
I'm like,
It's all.
Let's accept it and let's celebrate it now.
Well, I always bring up
gold stars.
The song "It's All About the Climb," and it's like we're getting at the top where we can look around and I did that, don't want to do that again, like where we and like Kristi said, we can hold our head up. I know for me, what happened and what I've been able to like now look down the mountain is I shared a story about kindergarten trio where, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wanted to be a mother. And I wanted to be a mother.
Me too. That's all I wanted to be.
All I wanted to be. And so when God blessed me, I had some struggle getting pregnant, but I became a mother. And when I became that all the way. It's like Brenda was gone. I was yay a mom, and then a wife, and then when the rug was pulled out and my husband wanted a divorce, I was like left with, who am I? What just happened? I was a mom and going about life, and now I am left looking in the mirror again at I didn't know who I was, and I completely lost that girl. And I tried to look on the bright side of things, and if anything good came out of that terrible situation, was I found me again. I remembered who I was, and then that I could be her and be a mom, like that I didn't have to like hang her up and because I wanted to be a mom, and that's what I was doing. And I think that a lot of times it's when we get to this age, when our kids are a little older, when we're done all of the things, where we allow ourselves to then, hey, I like music, or I like this, so I'm going to start liking that stuff again, allowing myself to go there to be more myself. And I don't, yeah, I guess I wasn't aware of how much of myself that I let go of until that all happened to me. And, it's that whole, you are enough, and you can be all of the things and still be you, flaws and all.
Men. Totally men right there.
Yes.
I mean, I feel that so deep in my heart because I did lose myself for a time too, and there wasn't a divorce. It's, I don't know if we just call it life, and I guess, and how many of us feel that way. And so finding that girl again, it was a journey. And it was not easy because at that point, there's other people in your life that get used to how you are. And if you're, for me, I was sad all the time. I was tired. I was going through the motions, like Kristi said, every single day. I'll clean the house, I'll do dinner, but none of that like was joyous.
Right.
It's not bad. It's just, it didn't fill me. And I guess I was a little disappointed too, Brenda, when I finally was like living the dream of being a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then momhood is hard. And it wasn't what in my fantasy mind, my young teenage ideals of momhood was not that. And then I'm like, I remember several days, often, I guess, I would be like, God, where is my joy? Like, is this all you have for me? And I remember saying that to him and being like, surely this is not all I'm meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, like knowing that I'm not, like, I will have joy in being a mom. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But that, yes, I can be more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Alicia and I were talking about this once. And that when we, for me and maybe Alicia as well, but when we get in that mindset of, I'm going to be a mom, I've got to be the best mom I can, that we limit ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe now that God intends for us to be amazing mothers, and that as his daughters, he also believes we can be all he wants us to be.
Right.
And I think there's no limit on that. Like, I can't even imagine what he would make of me if I say, okay, Jesus, take the wheel, kind of a thing, right? Like,
right.
You better hold on if he takes it. If you're going
right.
to it's big. Like isn't that amazing? Like our thoughts, our plans are like this, and then his are infinite. And whenever you let him go, he just he shows you like this is what you were praying for, but this is what I had for you.
Right.
I love
well,
everything
and
you said. I'm like, oh, that's a shirt, maybe in a book.
yeah,
Maybe you should
yes.
just the book.
Well, and everything you just said, and actually, where is it? I wrote it down. A quote. Here it is. That just to that Trio said in episode 1 of your podcast, you said, I think of each of us as women. Oh, I think if each of us as women understand the power that lies within us, we could change the world in amazing ways. And I think if each of us stepped into our own innate purpose and power, the world will never be the same. You said that. That's exactly what you just said. I'm like,
I'm gonna wrap it up right there.
yeah. Right? Like that. You guys out there listening. And I did. So I would feel guilty when I had those feelings like, gosh, this is it. Like, it's got to be more, like you said, there has to be more. I'm like, I love being a mom. I wouldn't change it, but I didn't let I felt guilty because this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted to be, but I didn't realize I could still be all the other things. And I like to, in your podcast, you guys go subscribe to You've Got Sis. You guys talk about what Kristi, those gifts, those things that God gives you, and purpose. And a lot of times we think it has to be this big giant word, this big like smart, intelligent thing, when it's the little things. I always say it's the little things. Organizing, like that is just something I always did. My room was always clean. I was always, instead of building with Legos, I was sorting them by color, by size. Like I just did that. And so who knew that down the line, God is going to say, well, there's this little thing that you've always done that I made you to do that can grow into something, and a ripple again. You can help people with that. I was like, what?
Yes.
Really?
Because sometimes
That thing?
people struggle to organize and we need a little bit of Brenda in our life.
Yeah.
Really, I hope
So,
I hope that the people listening will go back and listen to the episode of your podcast about comparison. Alicia, some of the things that you shared, I think were just like if you had like opened up some of our hearts and just said, "This is what I feel like." I was like, "That, what you said, what you said, what you said," and I love the way that you looked, that you kind of reframed some of the way you were looking at some of the women in your life and their gifts. But I would love to hear somebody do that for you because like I think like I love sitting like this, but I'm like, I want to know what it is that you don't see about you that we see, you know? Because like when I look at you, I'm like, wow, but I wonder what it is. Like, and I bet y'all could have this conversation sometime. I bet there's something that she sees that you don't even know is there.
We have had this conversation a little bit recently. And yeah, I mean, and sometimes I told her this yesterday. I said, it's amazing how I think sisterhood works and friendship works because some days I need her to pick me up and other days she needs me to pick her up. And sometimes we can go a few weeks and we're good and then we need the pickup. But I was like, Alicia, like, you're amazing. Do you realize how amazing you are? Because you are, to me, she is always positive and always lifting another person. And I have never heard her complain, ever, ever. And I am just like, girl, I love it. I love your heart. And when you gotta complain, you call me up because if you don't, like, I'm not gonna think you're real. So, so I'm here for that too. But I also know that she is a fabulous mother. She loves her kids so like authentically and genuinely for who they are because they're each very different. And she's very patient with them and kind and loving. And she's going to go, she's going to step into battle with them when they need it. And that's what I love about her because not only have I seen her go to battle for her kids, but she also goes to battle for me, like when I need it. And there's times that we need somebody there to fight for us. And she's somebody that will be there. So I love that about her. And I mean, if you're watching this, you can just look at her and see she's cute and sassy and has the
so
pixie haircut and the sassy earrings, and I love it. And she's also very gifted at really bringing light into her home, and she is the person that holds her family together. She's glue.
You are.
You guys see why I like Trio now? I like to keep her in my pocket.
They're like, yeah, like I even wrote this down. I wrote it down that basically the same thing. Alicia is so kind, so supportive, always there, ready to help you succeed. Like, let's go. Like, she's just, you're awesome, and your smile. Like, that's one of the first things I wrote down was that your smile. It's infectious. Like, you're just happy, and you know you just I'm very blessed to have. I'm glad that Alex and Ben brought us together.
Me too.
And just I felt like the two of them became friends, then you and I became friends, and then I started working at the elementary, gotten to know the other three boys, and a really special thing that happened. Jacob being Alex's coach, but when my dad was sick in the hospital, it was towards the end, and he just the hospital said if you ever need prayer, or my dad was Catholic, so he's like, if you ever need a priest to come and pray with you. Well, there was a day that my dad said, can you call the priest? I would like a priest to come. Well, the hospital where he was at, there was an issue with the priest. The priest couldn't come. And so I just got on the phone and decided I'm going to call Steve Smith and Jacob and see if they could come. And they were there probably like in less than an hour, praying over my dad, anointing him with oil. And I just was like, I'm getting chills. Thank you, God, for these people who really, you guys are more like family, I think, because we've known each other so long. But just it's awesome to have you guys, those kind of people in your life that have seen you, like the good and the bad,
Yeah.
and who are there for you just for all of it. I really appreciate that, and I know, like Trio said, that you are there raising those boys up, and your husband, and just guiding, mothering.
Well, I can't stop and let Trio have all the fun, so I need to just point a couple things out about Trio, because Trio is fearless, like in a way that sometimes scares me and sometimes inspires me. Most of the time inspires me, because she's not afraid of saying things. She's like, I don't believe that. Why don't you do this? And and at first I was like, I guess I could, but now, like, it's one of those gifts that she has where she can just speak up and speak her mind and be confident and courageous and fearless.
And drop it out there. I love that.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that.
I need that.
Mhm.
I need that. So it's been really great to pick that part of our friendship up and be like, yep, I need this part of you to be a part of me, because I need that a little bit more. And she is an amazing mom. She can balance so many different things in her life, like with nursing school and her husband's work and her kids and all the things that they're like. She's sane amidst all of the chaos, which I think is a huge gift to your family and to me.
And to yourself.
And to yourself. And you're just so dang fun, Trio. I mean, come on. I don't think I would have gotten these earrings unless it was for you. So you're amazing, and I love you.
I love that.
This.
I think, and I say a gift to yourself, is because earlier when you're describing, holding people, where you don't trust, or you put up a wall, or keep them at bay, you're protecting yourself, your heart, and your boundaries. You know that, okay, I got all of this right now, and I just can't give you that right now. So just give me a minute. And I think that's a gift too, because how many, some other women might be like, okay, I'm going to add that. I'm going to try and be your friend too, even though I can't really be a good one, but I'm going to try and load that on here too. So yeah, so I do. I think that as a gift as well.
I love that.
You're able to do that.
You guys more often.
I know, we need to do this again.
We'll just sit and talk. And so I think, you know what, this is a good place. In a minute, when we get to the end, we're going to have to rewind. We're going to have to go and fake an intro, because we just sat down.
We started going.
And as we were in the call, we just started having conversations about earrings and about how
I just jumped right in.
And then Trio was finally like, are we recording? So we'll fake an intro and we'll introduce you guys. But Brenda, you have like the whole, one of the things that kind of a binding element for us is music. And so I don't actually know how middle-aged y'all are. I'm 45. So mixtapes were a big thing for me in high school. And so that was for Brenda too. Brenda's such a music person. So that's our whole thing. If I made you a mixtape, this is what I would put on it. And Brenda has a song for y'all to add to our mixtape.
Do have a song for y'all. So the song that, it didn't pop in my head right away. I was like, I knew I wanted to have a song that was about sisterhood, or to go along with your You've Got Sis. I don't know if you know this song, but it's called Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves. It's by the Eurythmics, and they sing it with Aretha Franklin. And I highlighted a few, the lyrics that stood out to me were, sisters are doing it for themselves, standing on their own 2 feet and ringing on their own bells. Sisters are doing it for themselves. Woman to woman, we're singing with you. Yeah. So
Ooh.
it's a fun kind of just women power song. I love. I think it was from the late 80s, early 90s. But
Excited.
yeah. So we that song. So your episode will be called Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves, and then we add all the songs that all our episodes are a song. So it'll be on Spotify, so you can go over and just listen to it if you've never heard it. But before we go, I don't know. This is like the first question I wanted to ask. Trio, your name, Trio. Tell me about this name?
Okay, well, I'll give you the sassy version first.
Okay.
Because I've gotten the question my whole life. And
Right.
as I got older, I got wiser. And then when I was in the hospital, I'd get a bunch of elderly men asking about my name. And so I'd say, well, I'm the third girl. And they'd say, oh, so what are your sisters' names? Uno and Duo? And I'm like, no, it's actually Solo and Duet. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And depending on how much I wanted to mess around with you, I'd let that go on for a while. Or I'd say, no, my sisters' names are really Leanne and Denise. And I'm the third girl in my family. And that's how I got the name.
Trio.
Is that your good name?
Politically inclined at all. It is my name. It's on my birth certificate, Trio.
Your parents were cool
love
before
it.
Full names were cool,
It's so true.
right?
And I think I don't remember which episode we talk about that. I am Brenda Lynn Lopez. You know, my dad was from Mexico, became a citizen of the United States, and married my mother. So, so I'm like, why don't I have a Mexican name? Why am I not Shakira or Claudia or something just ethnic that goes along with Lopez? My sister's Janice Lee and I'm Brenda Lynn. And my mom's like, nope, I just didn't want to name you guys something like that. I'm like, great, thanks. I can't even translate my own name in Spanish. So as soon as I'm like, so Trio, and I always talk about that. I'm like, I wish I had a cool name. So I spell my name Brenda, D-U-H. I take the A off and add D-U-H. So when I start listening to y'all's iPod, I was just like, Trio. Oh, I just love that. Like, so cool. Why is she named Trio? So yeah, I had to know.
I love it. Well, there's both of my versions.
I love that.
There you
Love
go.
that.
Part of me is like a little sad, like, because when you said Solo and Duet, I was like, oh my gosh, that is fabulous. So I totally fell for it. And I, like, when I go back and watch this, my face, I was like, amazing. So yeah.
That is so
Yeah,
funny.
well, my oldest sister begged my mom not to name me Trio. And I really am pretty glad that my mom did her own thing, because I think that in having this name, I've had to kind of have a backbone with it. Like, it's always been my normal. So what's wrong with you that it's odd?
Right.
You know, like I would go to our little small town library back in the day when we could write our name on the library cards to check out the books. And the librarian was like, oh, it's okay. You can just put your first name. Perfect. Trio. There you go.
I love that.
There's
OMG. I love it.
Talk to y'all again and again.
I mean, seriously. So thank you guys for coming on here and talking to us. I like I said, I was just very excited when I heard your podcast and what was that topic of comparison. I was like, this has to be talked about. Yeah. So you guys, please go listen to You've Got Sis on Apple Podcasts, and then also on what? Oh,
You've Got This Sis.
You've Got This Sis.
You're telling them where to look on Apple Podcasts. I'm gonna, sorry to be that guy.
Thanks for holding the mirror up to my face.
I was like, no, don't look for that. Sorry.
No, You've Got This Sis is on Apple Podcasts, and they're also on YouTube. And on YouTube, You guys share different videos, different stories than your podcast. So yeah. So you need to go listen to both.
So we've got short and sweet videos.
Yes, you
Because you
do.
got this, sis. Like Brenda, you got this.
Thank you.
They're all for you, Brenda.
I really, yes, they are. Seriously. I really appreciate that because there are so many days where I feel like I don't.
You got it.
Thank you. I do feel like stronger.
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all.
Take it. Like, you got this, girl. You got this, sis. Like,
Yeah,
you do. You get like the power.
I do. I feel it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us on, you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay.
All right.
That's awesome. So thank y'all very much. And we will all be listening to You've Got This Sis more. And I will be stalking y'all on social media as soon as we hang up.
Yeah, same.
So thanks y'all. Y'all have an awesome day.
You too.
Yeah, you
You
too.
too.
Don't go anywhere because we're really going to record the intern now.
Hey y'all, are you still watching? Are you still listening? Oh, hey mom.
We're so glad that you're still with us. If you want to connect online, we're at www.normalbiaspodcast.com, or you can find us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. And our very favorite, if we made you a mixtape, we'd put all those songs on our Spotify playlist for you.
All the things.